and I'd like to bring you some information today. This is a combination of input from Spirit as well as their inspiration to me to talk about a couple related things, actually. I know it's the holiday season, and I mean not just Christmas, it's Kwanzaa, it's been Hanukkah. I mean, it's just that time of the year, and it's a beautiful time of the year. And I was reading a book this week by Norman Vincent Peale, and I have a beautiful quote I found from him. He said, "Christmas waves a magic wand over this world, and behold, everything is softer and more beautiful." And that's not just in the physical sense either. I think it's a psychological and emotional point as well, because it puts people in the frame of mind to love and to do good things and to reach out to one another, probably more than they usually do throughout the year. So the mindset is wonderful. But you know what? I think if we could carry this forward into the new year and continue on, like people make New Year's resolutions, and then usually by February or March, if they're real good about it, it just kind of dwindles away, and you tend to say, okay, well that was good, but I can't maintain that, I can't keep doing that. So it would be nice if we could make that one of our New Year's resolutions. But I found some interesting information as well. December is considered a major month for giving. The rules are you should never give to receive, but give for the joy of giving. Too often, many people give a gift expecting to receive a gift in return. If the gift they receive is not of equal value, or if the expected gift is never received, disappointment is the first emotion experienced, followed by varying degrees of anger. Now, consider giving for the joy of giving. The resulting emotion is joy. And joy's not here today, so we'll just have to work around that. But this joy. The gift is joy, personal fulfillment and satisfaction. Sir Winston Churchill, obviously most of us know who he was, such a great statesman, once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." So December being the last month of the year, it's the perfect month for prepping the joy of giving. Giving is defined as providing monetary, physical, and or intellectual services for the benefit of a service, origination, or to an individual without the expectation of any compensation except that of personal satisfaction. And some of us do give just from our hearts and don't always accept or expect to be reciprocated. But however, giving does not mean to purchase a material gift. The gift is the gift that comes from your heart. Humans are basically giving creatures. So give of yourself, give of your service, and definitely give back to your community. However you decide to do it, whether it's through your church, through your county, it doesn't matter. Your service is just as valuable as the billionaire who donates half of his wealth. Ask yourself, what kind of person am I? And choose to be a giver. Search within yourself to create a service of your own. Just remember the words of Sir Winston Churchill and reap the benefits of your service. So I thought that was pretty interesting because so many of us, like it said, we give a gift and it's like we're expecting to get something back. And that's not always the way it works in your own mind. I find it idealistically sometimes to believe that just to give brings something back to you, to your own heart. I'm one of those kind of people that I love to give. I like to give, and it actually makes me uncomfortable because I don't want the person to think that I'm giving them something because I'm expecting something back. Like, okay, if I give 10 people presents, I'm going to get 10 presents. No, it makes me uncomfortable because I want to give, but I don't want to receive. I believe that I have more than enough in my life, and I think along with what Ron chose, which obviously was spirit inspired because I was so busy, I didn't pick songs, and I kept saying, oh, I gotta ask Ron to play Count Your Blessings. And he did, just like magic, because that's what I want to get across. We are so blessed, and as Americans especially, we are pretty much spoiled rotten. I mean, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for, unfortunately, the tragedies and things that befall us in our nation for various reasons, we would just be like living in our heaven on earth, so to speak, because we're very fat and spoiled here in this country. I mean, I don't so much mean literally, but figuratively. I work with a church in Titusville, where I live, that serves the homeless primarily. And they remind us constantly how blessed we are, that there are families living in the woods all over Florida probably, but I'm speaking where I live in Titusville. There are people living in the woods. There are people living under bridges, wherever they can find a spot to pitch a tent or sleep in their vehicle. These people don't have access to heat or a refrigerator or cooking availability, just the things that we have, most of us, and take for granted, that we have so much. We don't always look at our brothers and sisters. In fact, sometimes we go around with blinders like a horse because we don't want to see. We don't want to see that there are people living in the woods, because then it makes us feel like, ooh, what can I do about that? Should I do something about that? And some people aren't comfortable with that. And that's okay, That's okay. For whatever reasons you choose, that's okay. But there are a lot of churches, we are very blessed, because there are a lot of churches, our church included, that donates and takes up collections for families in need. If we're aware of a situation, we do our best to do our part. And I think if more people did that, then possibly, some of this could be alleviated. Some of these families, if they received extra help or a hand up, like a job or whatever the case is, maybe they wouldn't be living in the woods or under bridges or parking lots. So it's unfortunate, but we've had a very, very stressful, difficult year. And because of all the tragedies in the country, you know, people getting hurt or killed for various reasons, like I said, we go on, and the people that are left behind for those families that have lost loved ones, they have to go on too. So I associated this with something, a lot of our lessons, a lot of my lessons over the years have come through Greek mythology. There's a God for everything in Greek mythology, or there's a story behind everything in Greek mythology. And something I was reading this week, it reminded me of the situation in our country right now. We are in the last month of the year, and we do have to look back and look at everything, everyone that we've lost along the way, either through tragedy or health, whatever the case was. There's sometimes no differentiating, like whose loss is worse. No, it's not about that. So we've all lost someone, I mean, whether it's even a pet, an animal, or whatever the case. You know, we know what the hurt of losing someone is like. So there's something I equated this to in Greek mythology, if you're aware of, the phoenix. The phoenix symbolizes renewal and resurrection and represents many themes, such as the sun, time, life in the heavenly, I gotta put my glasses on, sorry, life in the heavenly paradise, and exceptional man, right here. The symbolism of the phoenix dies and is reborn across cultures and throughout time. Ancient Greece paints a picture of a magical bird, radiant and shimmering, which lives for several hundred years before it dies by bursting into flames. It is then reborn from the ashes to start a new, long life. So powerful is the symbolism that it is a motif and image that is still used commonly today, the phoenix. The legendary Greek phoenix is a large, grand bird, much like an eagle or a peacock. It is brilliantly colored in reds, purples, and yellows, as it is associated with the rising sun and fire. Sometimes a nimbus will surround it, illuminating it in the sky. Its eyes are blue and shine like sapphires. It builds its own funeral pyre or nest and ignites it with a single clap of its wings. After death, it rises gloriously from the ashes and flies away. Now, I don't know about you. I mean, I might be a little partial because I'm a little Greek too, you know, but that's a sight. That is quite a legend to believe in. But what I'm talking about here today is how it equates to us here on the earth plane. The year we've had, what do? We could end the year on a sad, sorrowful, you know, pitiful note and say, woe is me, gloom and doom, what's going to happen next year? Is it going to be a bad year? Oh no. Or do we want to choose to be the phoenix and rise up gloriously from the ashes and be even more strong and just spread our wings and enjoy what's coming to us? Because as spiritualists as well, we believe in our natural laws, our laws of attraction, And the beginning of the year is a great time to put forth your vision to the universe. And every year in January, personally, I put forth my goals towards the law of abundance, of all good, of all good. I ask at the beginning of the year that this be a year of abundance, everything positive into my life, and bring it forth through the universe. So as the phoenix sets itself on fire and burns to ashes, and then all of a sudden majestically is reborn, it's resurrection in that form. And that's going to be our life in January, the new year. So I don't know about you, but I'm going with the phoenix because it lived several hundred years according to Greek legend, and it's powerful. So let's go with that. But also, in the interim, I have a little story that I actually have carried with me for years, as it's yellowed, and from New Mexico, where I lived for several years. And it also made me think of this same thing. Heralded by a blast of cold Arctic wind during a late summer snowstorm, fall arrived a little early. It didn't matter that I still had flowers blooming in my yard. The unseasonable frigid weather froze every bit of unprotected vegetation with its scathing, record-breaking, bitter coldness. My pink petunias looked pathetic. Overnight, their very life force was snuffed out at the height of their season to blossom and bloom. One day they were brilliant and beautiful. The next day, brittle and brown. Nothing could bring restoration. In short, everything was dead and gone. If I want petunias to grow again, I'll have to plant new ones. But near the petunias were some vibrant, bright orange poppies. The poppies looked even more pitiful than the petunias. The poppies, which had grown large and tall, were transformed overnight into a mound of dark and murky mush. One big and all-important difference, however, exists between the petunias and the poppies. That difference is a strong and sustaining root system. Come spring, my poppies will bloom again. They'll actually grow even bigger and brighter because they developed a strong core of inner strength. So, into each life, a little rain must fall. Sometimes the rain falls gently to wash the earth and settle the dust. Often driven by a harsh gale-force wind, the rain pounds down with enough force to erode away every weakness. On occasion, the rain is accompanied by frigid temperatures, and everything its freezing fingers touch becomes bone-chilling ice. No matter how the rain falls, the storm's passage always replenishes the moisture necessary to sustain and perpetuate growth. Natural law in action. The longer I live, the more I realize life equates to lessons and learning. As my days accumulate into weeks and months and finally years, I've learned, and I'm sure you have too, painfully relearned many of life's lessons. One of those lessons is we are all appointed a season to be born, another to grow, and finally a time to die. I'd like to give my life more like the poppy than the petunia. I'd like to live that way. I'd like to possess the stamina to perpetually endure whatever cold, hard lessons life sends my way, with enough inner strength and faith to continually be ready for each new spring. So like the phoenix rises up once again, They'll be stronger for this. And just for a little bit of added Greek mythology here, the symbol for our religion has been the sunflower, in case you didn't notice. And as I was researching the phoenix, Julie, you can step forward, there was also, over here, there was also a story in the ancient Greek legends here of the sunflower. So Julie can read that to us now.
Clytie, the sunflower maiden. There once was a beautiful water nymph called Clytie. She had wonderful golden hair, and every day she used to come forth her pool and comb it. It fell around her face in great waves and shone in the sun like gold. Clytie loved the warmth of the sun. She used to watch for Apollo's chariot to come through the gates of heaven every morning. Then the world was flooded with the sunrise, and hills and valleys rejoiced. One day, Clytie saw Apollo driving the sun chariot. He wore his dazzling crown, and his face shone fair and bright. He was strong and handsome, and held the reins of his 4 fiery horses firmly in his powerful hand. Through the sky he went all day long, driving the horses on the middle way. Clytie watched him and admired his strength and beauty. She was sorry when the sun chariot entered the western seas and was lost to her. Darkness came over the earth, and Clytie shivered. She returned to the water and dreamed of the bright young sun god all night long. The next morning she arose before dawn and stood by the side of the pool, watching for the return of Apollo. Soon a golden light tinged the eastern sky, and then the sun god came forth once more. Clytie watched him eagerly. All day long followed his course, sighing when he returned to the west. The little nymph fell deeply in love with the handsome god. She thought of him and of nothing else. No longer did she return to her pool at night, but stood waiting in the darkness for the first golden gleam to appear in the east. She longed for Apollo to see her and to return her love. She felt certain that if he saw her waiting for him, he would come to her with loving words. So all day long, she watched and waited for him to see her. She combed out her pretty hair so that it hung around her face like a sheet of gold. It gleamed in the sun and shone so brightly that her sister nymphs came up to her and stroked her head, but Clytie paid no heed to them. Always she watched for the moment when Apollo would see her and smile. But the sun god did not turn his head. He looked straight before him, keeping his fiery horses on the difficult way. He did not see Clytie of the golden hair watching him with loving eyes. Day after day the nymphs saw Apollo drive out from the eastern sky, mount the heavens, and return to the western seas at night. Her face turned to him wherever he went and followed his course all day long. For 9 days, Clytie watched the sun god, and never once did she take her eyes from him. He had no food and no drink, only her bitter tears. Then, on the 9th day, when she would have moved, she could not. Her feet had become rooted to the ground. Her arms and fingers were green leaves. Her face, with its halo of golden hair, had become a flower. Clytie was a sunflower. She could neither speak nor weep, but still she turned her golden head towards the sun, following his course the whole day through. And from that time to this, all sunflowers do the same. Their pretty golden faces look always towards the sun god as he drives his golden chariot through the sky.
Thank you. Like I said, the Greeks, we have a story for everything. A God for everything. Why it happened. But no, I thought that was interesting because we learned a little about sunflowers, obviously, along the way. Before I finish, I'd like to leave you, since this is a multicultural day, we've encouraged everyone to participate in our multicultural ethnic luncheon, potluck. We welcome everyone to come back. We have plenty of food, definitely, but since it's multicultural, these two girls, but I myself am not Irish, I would like to leave you with an Irish blessing before. May your joys be as deep as the oceans, your troubles be light as its foam, and may you find sweet peace of mind wherever you may roam. So thank you very much for listening to that. And at this time,